What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 65 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, what we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or just hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is April 9th, 2021, and I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Daniel Lima.
Hello, Louis. How are you doing?
Hey Dan, I gotta say I'm actually kind of like excited for today's show. Number one, I'm piloting, so that's a plus. But we got some.
Oh yeah, it's got to be a good one.
I got a very juicy topic planned for us, and we don't usually cover serious stuff. We've done it once, and this is gonna be the second time we have to do it, and it's crazy. So we'll get to it when we get to the news here. But in the meantime, let's actually just go over some pleasantries. So we've all been about like just trying to be inclusive with our audience. You know, we've had the URL for ReadyPlayNetwork.com like set up for like a long time now. Damn near feels like a year now. We've had some listener mail like done before, and we've always been inviting listener mail to the show, and it's not very often that we get it. So this time, what we're doing here, what I done for this show is I pulled Twitter. We've been tweeted at, so I decided to just put some tweets on blast here. So first off, well, not so much on blast, but we'll get there. This tweet comes from Brilliant Ness or Brilliant Inez, and the Twitter handle Ines Del Lorios. There you go. So I just wanted to give us like just sort of like applaud ourselves for
Celebrate it.
celebrating
Yeah.
exactly because we are basically part of somebody's Saturday morning routine because we upload to the Level One Gaming YouTube channel every Saturday morning, and they're ready for us. They wait for us, and it says here, "Good morning, another Saturday waking up to the voice of at the Dan Lima. This is the house of Ready Press Play." There you go. So I'm like, and you're like, you tweeted, you're like, "Oh, that makes me shy, thank you," and all that stuff. But I just gotta say, they didn't tweet at me. They tweeted at you, and I'm glad they tweeted at Ready Press
Yeah.
Play and everything. But I feel like there's
Louis,
some
do you
expectations when it comes to being part of somebody's routine.
does that make you feel like the sidekick though? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like,
You
oh yeah,
know,
Dan's voice. Well, and that other guy.
cuz
Yeah.
yeah, cuz like you don't go watch a Robin movie, you know. He's there, but you're there for Batman. You know what I mean? So
Look, we need to fix that.
um
Everyone that's watching this, tweet at me and don't and leave Dan out of it. There you go.
Um, so jokes aside, I think she tagged me because I know her personally, like I do some other listeners of the show. But I appreciate the tweet nonetheless, and I know that um, they've been following the podcast pretty actively, and I appreciate that. We both appreciate that very much. So thank you.
All right. So next up here, our YouTube channel. We had the YouTube channel. It was labeled as Ready Press Play. Like, hey, look right over there. We go. See, hey, the Ready Press Play logo and everything, and the colors and stuff. And then Dan was like, you know what? Screw that. Just change the colors, change the font, change everything. Just scrap it. It's now Ready Play Network. So uh, it's nothing. It's
You know,
nothing major. But yeah, go ahead. Take it away, Dan.
No, I was just gonna say that yeah, we wanna rebrand our YouTube presence. There's our flagship Ready Press Play show here that posts on Level One Gaming's YouTube, but we also want to work at our own YouTube channel as a future project. I don't think we're gonna go crazy with it right now, but one of the first steps that I wanted to take was to rebrand it as Ready Play Network. Is in the future we might have more content coming out there than just Ready Press Play stuff. I The design is pretty bare bones. I think like I could have done a better job, but it's what I was able to do for now, and I wouldn't be surprised with a new redesign in the near future. But for the time being, it's now it's properly named, and it has a banner and etc. that says Ready Play Network, and I organized some playlists, and the next step would be bringing in some of our old content in there in video form. Obviously, not really video of us talking, but with some kind of video in our previous episodes. So my plan is that over the next few months, I would hope to have our archived like everything Ready Press Play has ever done existing within our own YouTube channel in some way, and then we'll go from there. And figure out what we want to do, in the future as well. So yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're staying on this show is still being be on level1gaming.com because we gave away the goods. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's like
I'm just kidding. I'm just
it's
kidding.
kind of a Bethesda situation, right? Like that, like they got purchased by like Xbox, but then they're still like releasing like titles on, exclusive titles even on PlayStation and stuff.
No,
So
we love you. We love you, fame. It's okay, and we're not being paid
yeah,
to say that.
yeah,
But
we're just fucking around.
to be fair, before Fame approached us to be on there, but Dan and I never once had a conversation about doing a video podcast.
Yeah,
So
yeah, true.
it's his. You can thank Fame for that. But anyways, next up, Dan, you have to editorialize yourself. Go for it.
Yes. So, I always listen to the show after we release it, which is it's apparently an unusual thing to do. I've heard multiple other podcasters say that they just do it and put it out and then never listen to it ever again. But I like to listen to our own show and, listen to my own voice. Few things sound better than that, in my opinion. Um, and and on listening to the last episode, I realized that I said that GTA Online. I was using it as an example of online modes that come out after the game comes out in a reference to Cyberpunk and The Witcher and stuff. And it turns out that I made a big gaffe when I said that GTA Online came out 1 or 2 years after GTA 5 came out. I was completely wrong. It came out a week after. After looking that up, I did get thrown into a spiral though, where I was like, "Why was I thinking of? Like, did I just completely make that up in my head?" And after doing some research myself, I found out that what I was thinking of was this big expansion to GTA Online that was called the Heist expansion, which is really what catapulted GTA Online into like big mainstream huge success compared to where it was at before. And that particular expansion was what I was thinking of, that it was supposed to be there in the beginning, but it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed until it came out like 2 years after it was originally planned. So that's what I was thinking of, the Heist expansion. So I just wanted to clarify that because me saying that GTA Online came out 2 years after GTA 5 and then realizing that it was like a week after made me look real bad to myself,
Oh
and
my
I
god. To be
anyway,
fair,
so
like
just
I kind of sort of nodded with you, but I almost kind of feel like Heist is GTA Online. So yeah, I'll let it slide.
true.
Uh, the last bit of housekeeping that we got to do here is regarding the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ReadyPressPlay. Of course, we've been pretty active. Whenever we went hard on it, and now we're starting the cycle over again. Last year's schedule was like every Tuesday night. This is going to be looking like so far, perhaps, or maybe at least for the month of April, or maybe nothing major. I don't want to promise anything. I've learned my lesson when it comes to promising. Uh, um, the current temporary schedule is that every Sunday, like at noon Central or 10 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to be streaming something on the Twitch channel. And this Sunday, we're going to be starting off with with It Takes Two. There you go. I wanted to say EA first, but I was like, let's just drop EA's name. We don't need to talk about that.
Why the shade?
I
Come
don't
on.
know.
Yes.
I don't know.
EA
I just feel like I was
original.
gonna say in my head when I was gonna introduce it, I was like, oh yeah, EA's, and I'm like, no, like I think the title should stand for
Well,
itself.
to be fair, EA publishes the game, but they're not, they don't develop it because Hazelight, Joseph Ferris Studio is its own thing. It's not part of EA, as far as I understand. Obviously, who knows? But yeah,
Yeah. So there we go. It Takes Two. Gonna be out or be playing this Sunday, and yeah, we'll see you guys there. So, and hopefully you guys are watching this on Saturday. So, watch it. Just come on down the next day. In the meantime, let's go ahead and kick it off to the next segment where we talk about impressions. Dan, I got some juicy impressions, and you go for it first, though.
No. You can go first. I was going to congratulate you on taking less than 20 minutes to find and play the audio effect. You're doing pretty good at that recently.
Very funny. Very
Ever
funny.
since we switched the video.
I know, right? It's getting pretty routine. So I'm gonna go out and first say that I was adulting last week, and I decided to make a very irresponsible financial decision. So
Which was?
I bought a TV for $5,000.
Are you serious? Which TV did you buy? Now I'm very curious.
Yeah, I bought the LG C1. It's like a 77-inch TV. It's 4K. It's OLED, and it's got
Uh-huh.
HDMI 2.1, which means that it can do 4K at 120 hertz or 120 FPS, whatever. And it's got like the V-Sync and all that G-Sync and all that good stuff. So that
Okay.
it helps with
Cool.
the screen tearing, like to minimize that and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And it's good for gaming as far as like response time, and it's good with picture and color accuracy, like Dolby Vision and HDR. Basically, all the bells and whistles that I require. I'm nothing but top shelf for me, right? And I've been wanting to upgrade
Mhm.
my TV for a long time, anyways. So
Fair enough.
I got the PS5, as like I said, and now it's time for not being like hindered or held back by the TV, my old TV, and so I decided to test the new PS5 or the new TV with the PS5 when I was like first I streamed Godzilla vs Kong, which is the first movie I watched on it, which is beautiful. Like, oh my god, I could see every individual blade of grass and stuff in that movie with that 4K and everything. But then after that, I watched my nephew play some more Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I got to play like about a good minute of it when he kept dying because he didn't know how to fight some goons for some reason. I'm like, give me the
Wait a second.
controller.
I gotta stop you there for a second. So Lewis goes out of his way to buy a $5,000 TV, buys a scalped PlayStation 5 on eBay to watch his nephew play Spider-Man Miles Morales. Fantastic, Lewis.
Okay,
Go
you know
ahead.
what? You know what? I'm just gonna throw this out there. I don't want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales unless I play Spider-Man 2018 first, which not is not necessary because they give you a recap of the plot of the first game, like and a quick little like.
So you already got it all spoiled anyway. Why do you even care at this point?
I didn't actually pay attention to the opening cutscene. It's like it asks you, "Do you want to watch it?" And I'm like, and then of course he said yes, but I tuned
Mhm.
out. Like I didn't watch the little montage of everything happening and stuff like that. I was like, so there was that, but I did watch him play a lot, and I got to play a little bit of it. Of course, like it wasn't all him. Like he gets frustrated when he dies too much, so he's like, okay, let me handle this, and I'll take care of it for you. Um, but I will say that it's like seeing it again for the first time. It's just so mind blowing. It's like a come to Jesus moment kind of thing for me when I was seeing like Spider-Man swinging around with this high fidelity and great colors and swinging through the city with beautiful ass motion and some reflections and all that kind of shit. It's like it was just too much. It's like I honestly feel like I'm not getting enough out of my TV because I feel like I wanna read the manual and learn how to read the settings and how to manually change the color temperature to make it
Mhm.
perfect and right, because like I feel like having everything from my PS5 to my TV just basically do auto everything. I feel like it's doing it wrong. But even
Mhm.
what I do what I have had it done as far as optimizing the picture quality, it's amazing. It's beautiful, and oh my God, swinging around in New York City is just beautiful. Like it's the best part was like seeing the swinging and stuff in the open world, and like the sun is like right there, and there's some like lens flare happening, and it's cool. It's awesome. Not gonna lie though, when I was playing it on the old TV, like it looked good. Like I actually didn't have any complaints. As far as I could tell, I felt like I could see a difference even on the old TV. Just the new TV just kind of sort of cranks it up. So if you don't really know what you're missing out on, I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. Like I don't know if
Mhm.
it's like in the abstract, I'm not sure spending $5,000 is something that's really necessary. Which I guess
Mhm.
more important to say, nothing is really necessary. I guess, but I'm extra.
No, that's fair. I was looking into a TV last year that I almost ended up buying, and it was the LG CX OLED, one of the ones. I think it was a smaller model, and it was around $2,000, I believe. But I ended up never buying it, and now I kind of the imperative for me to buy it has gone down because ever since then, my parents, and I don't remember if I talked about this on record in the podcast or not, but they were living in California for a bit and they moved back to Florida. And in that process, they ended up selling their house and they had all this furniture that they didn't sell it with because the people that were moving in didn't want. So they ended up selling a bunch of the furniture and they had all these TVs that they were not taking. So I ended up just taking them myself. So now I have like, now I have two 4K TVs in the house that I can use, and they're not, they're not the most recent bougie gaming ones, but they're like high end. They're still like high end 4K TVs from like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So like I don't there's less of a reason for me to go out and buy a new TV right now when I literally have like five TVs in the house at this
Well,
point.
now you
And
can
I
take advantage of your Xbox Series X and your PS4 Pro in 4K finally, because you told me at the time you were using 1080p.
exactly. Yes, exactly. So now I finally can take advantage of that, and it's great. But yes, it doesn't do the 4K at 120 thing. And to be fair, a lot of the games don't even seem to support that yet. Or they'll have like modes where it's like you're either doing 120 at like 1440p or something, or you're doing 4K at 60 frames per second, etc. I can barely see the difference of some of those things anyway. I'm not like the best at like really seeing stuff like that unless it's a comparison, a side by side comparison or something. Anyway, I digress. No, that's really cool, dude. Like that's cool that you got, like the best, coolest ass TV to play your PS5 and your Xbox Series X, and you can just have the top notch experience. And let me ask you, do you have a good sound system for all of this?
Well, first off, the TV has this really weird thing where it can throw the sound and it can like give a faux 3D experience. Like it has like these cool speakers that can sort of emulate it with like some kind of, they call it some kind of artificial intelligence kind of thing or whatever the hell. But yeah, no, I have a
Mm-hmm.
sound bar with a subwoofer, so basically that's just gives me the subwoofer gives me the bass and like the vibrations on my couch, and the sound bar, it just gives me that loud movie theater quality. So yeah, it's I've been happy with the sound system. We don't do the whole like THX or whatever, like sound like 7.1 surround sound speaker setup or anything like that. That's too much.
Well, then do you really have the best? I'm just trying to plant a little bug in your ear, Lewis, to see if you
Conception,
come back,
yeah.
next show, and you're like, "Oh, I just spent $1,000 on a cool, a dope ass sound system or something." No, I'm just fucking around. Well, I'm glad you're having fun watching Miles Morales. I hope you get to play it eventually. After you play the original Spider-Man, which is really good, or the Spider-Man from 2018, that's extremely good.
Shout out to
Do
the
you want to say anything else?
shout out to all like the costumes. I saw like it felt like the every individual texture of like the costume felt like the movies and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. There's a lot of detail. It felt like with the cutscenes and stuff, I was able to see their individual pores. It was pretty crazy. So yeah.
Damn. All right, cool. So I'm playing all sorts of things recently. I finally beat Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, and all I have to say about that is that there's a final boss fight that was a pain in the ass. In fact, there's a boss fight at the end, and then you beat the boss fight, and then there's another boss fight right after. So I was a little bit pissed about that. It's like, oh, like it all builds up to like this big boss fight, and then you beat it, and then it's like 5 minutes later, like, oh no, there's another boss. So and then you got to beat that one. That one is like five times harder. So frustration with the final battle aside, I actually really, really, really like that game, and it makes me think that Nintendo should find a way to bring this game to the Switch sometime soon, because it's just one of those games that came out at the tail end of the 3DS, and I mentioned this last time. It probably just ended up being criminally underrated. This is a remake of a mainline Metroid game, from the mainline series. And it's a damn near perfect one. Like everything about it, it's polished. It's fun to play. All the abilities that you find throughout the game are really cool, and some of them even kind of like unique and interesting. And there is, the game is not frustrating. I always was able to find my way around and know what to do next. I didn't really find myself getting stuck for too long, which is something that I struggle with sometimes with these kinds of games. I just kind of like played it smoothly, went through everything. The difficulty level is just right. It gets kind of tense in some of the boss battles, especially towards the end. But after I finished it, I finished it at like 12 hours, I think, and I was like, man, that was a really good, fun 12 hours. And I really think a lot more people should play this game. But granted, it kind of sucks that you have to grab a good old 3DS to play it and play in a 2021. But yeah, so hoping they'll bring that to the Switch. They definitely should. And now that I spent that time with the 3DS, I want to play more stuff on the 3DS. So I'm actually looking into rebuying Fire Emblem Awakening
Oh my god.
rather, rather than playing something that I haven't yet. I want to buy Fire Emblem Awakening again because I ended up giving that game away a long time ago, and I now it's worth it's worth more than it did when it came out.
Yeah.
Um, which Lewis, I would love for this to be a topic of the show at some point. I don't want to take 10 minutes to talk about it right now, but game collecting is such an interesting thing to do and get into. And I have found myself getting into it further and further over the last 12 months. And because I'm getting into it, I'm realizing how games prices fluctuate on the secondhand market and what happens after a game comes out. And a few things for the people out there that are listening to this that might be interested. Anything from the PS2 slash GameCube generation right now is really expensive. It has gone up a lot over the last few years. So if you want to buy like GameCube games right now, they cost a bunch of them cost a lot. Apparently, Pokemon games go up in price a lot as well. So like any Pokemon game, I actually own. Um, I have it in the back there. I don't want to go get it right now, but I own Pokemon Heart Gold in the box with everything that it came with. It has the Pokewalker and everything, right? You might own that too, Lewis.
Hmm.
That game used is worth like $300 now, like with everything that it came with. Um, so I don't know. It's just been kind of interesting to look into that, see the value of my collection, and like look at old games and look into getting them and see how much they're worth now. But yeah, like dude, like Fire Emblem games, Pokemon games, those games, like if you should just buy all of them day one when they come out because give it enough time, they are worth a lot.
Specifically Nintendo. Nintendo games hold value,
Yeah,
if not they increase in value. So,
yeah.
as a matter of fact, we're gonna something that happens in the extra news is that Super Mario Brothers for the NES sold for $660,000 at auction. So,
Yep.
we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, no, it just I am definitely an expert. I am more of a collector than a gamer. My list of games, like I scroll for like days on my phone just because it's such a long catalog. So, but yeah, definitely we got to pin that one for the net for another time.
So another few shout outs here. I started playing It Takes Two with Leah. We only played it for about an hour. I think we played like the first chapter of it.
You trifling
But fun
bitch.
times. I don't want to get too into it right now because Lewis and I are going to play it together and then we can talk about it together next week. But I'll just say that I've really liked it so far. It definitely starts well, in my opinion. Excited to see where it'll go next. Joseph Ferris games have a tendency to get better the more you play them. So that's really what I'm hoping for this one as well. I watched the show. So little Ready Play Movies moment here, called Mythic Quest: Raven's Banquet. It's available on Apple TV Plus. This was a show produced by the people behind It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, as well as Ubisoft is also involved in this in some way. Ashley Birch, who's a famous voice actress, she voiced Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn and a few other characters, plays a character in this as well. And it's a show about game development, a comedy show about game development in Apple TV Plus. Lewis, have you either heard about this or seen anything of it or watched it? It was actually announced, I believe it was actually announced at like an E3 conference a few
I
years
think it might have been
ago.
the Game Awards. I want to say because I remember seeing the
Yeah.
trailer for this. By the way, like
Yeah.
I've seen looking at this publicity still, and it looks very very familiar.
It had been plugged to me a few times. I knew some people that had watched it and said I should check it out. And then I finally did it. I found out that I already had an Apple TV Plus subscription. I didn't even know because of the family thing. So like with Apple, I'm on like my wife's family account because we share Apple Music or whatever. And then I just went to check out Apple TV Plus, and then it turned out that I logged in with my Apple account and said you already have this because of the family plan or whatever. So I was like, cool, checked out the show. I only have one episode left to finish it, I believe. And Lewis, it's a show like the best way I can describe it is what The Office is to office jobs. It's what this show is trying to do for game development. It doesn't do the documentary thing, but still it's like it's supposed to be like the day-to-day of this game company that's developing this MMO in current times. And you get to see like all these different characters representing different departments. So there's a writer, there's a producer, the main character is the creative director, there's a programming lead, and etc. There's the QA people, and then you get to see kind of like the shenanigans and the crazy stuff that happens in their day to day as they're trying to develop this game. And I have to say that now that I'm about to finish the show, I feel like I would give it like somewhere between a 6 and a 7 out of 10, meaning it's not, extraordinary as a comedy. It's all right. There's a lot of jokes that didn't hit for me, some that did, but I still would really like everybody to watch it. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're interested in games, if you're interested in game development, you should watch this. And especially if you have Apple TV Plus, you should watch the show. And here's why: because when did we ever see a show about game development before, or even about games or gamers? And the thing about this show is that it actually has like substance to it. Like you can tell that they know, even though the jokes are exaggerated, right? The situations are made up, kind of like The Office. Like The Office is not realistic, right? They take these like scenarios, these situations that happen in day-to-day office life, and then they turn them into something crazy for the episode. And all the characters are huge, caricatures of, people that you may have met in your office life. This is what that show does. So everything is exaggerated, nothing is really realistic, but still you can tell that the people making it have an idea of how game development works, of how the games industry work. They make fun of a lot of things that we relate with, even from a like a games coverage perspective. So like they make, for instance, there's this episode where their game is out, and then an article was posted on Kotaku. They actually said Kotaku in the show about how their game is the favorite game amongst white supremacists or something. And it's about how like all it's about how all these Nazis are playing their game, and then like they have to do something about it. And that's the plot line for the whole episode. And there's like the whole thing with like the streamer that's like the biggest streamer for their game, and it's like a 14-year-old boy who yells at his mom. And there's like all these like stupid things, but that like us that like play games and follow games culture kind of relate with a little bit. It's like, oh my god, I see what they're making fun of. So um even though I don't think the show is great, I appreciate that it exists. That's my point. I appreciate that it exists because I don't think there's anything like it. And I would like people to check it out.
Sounds like a 10 out of 10 in accuracy from what I.
It has its moments. It definitely has its moments of like really good like catches that they have and stuff like that. So yeah, check it out.
There you go. Nice. All right. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the battle bus. Yeah. All right. So the battle bus. I got a couple of things just to add to what I was doing with Fortnite. Is number one, I have keeping true to my word. I have not spent any V Bucks since I bought the PS5. I only got like what 3 more weeks to make it, or 3 or 4 more weeks somewhere in there until May 1st. And yeah, it's gonna happen. It's looking. Look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Not gonna lie, no cap. I don't think I would have spent any money on V Bucks regardless, because all the skins that they have been putting out have been like terrible in my opinion. They're not like S tier skins where I have to have it's like, oh my god, the Flash, oh my god,
Yeah.
Ant-Man or whatever, like oh my god, the Terminator, like, or Sarah Connor, like not there haven't been like one of these like S tier like skins. So I'm kind of grateful. Number one, I'm grateful that I don't have to spend any V Bucks even if I wanted to. Like, so it's been like a win-win for me. So it's like I'm telling myself to do this now when in reality I would have already done it. So it's like I don't know. I've just been like so conditioned to just pumping money into V Bucks that I just kind of naturally assume that they're going to continue to put out like skins and dances that I wanted. So I don't think that a good skin is not gonna happen or whatever. Like how do I put it? Like I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like Epic's gonna make their deals and stuff like that because they're basically anything and everything can be in Fortnite. So I'm not gonna like bet against that. So, but for now, it's a calm before the storm. The second thing I wanted to say is I'm still playing Fortnite with the DualSense, like the with the the triggers with the those like triggers where they mimic the gunfire. And I was talking about how I didn't know how I felt about it. Like I don't know if I was gonna keep it. I've been keeping it, and I've been playing with the triggers for like the past week. And number one, I don't think it's a hindrance anymore. Like I feel like it's pretty. I'm getting used to it. Number two, I feel like the tension of the triggers are weakening. Like I felt like whenever I was using a pistol, like it didn't have that exact same firmness, that same feel. Like it's been like the give is much easier. And I don't know. It almost kind of makes me feel like just by simply using that feature, that you're sort of like breaking whatever you're wearing down, whatever tension they're implementing or whatever, however they're making that effect happen. So just saying, but so far like there's still tension, but it feels that's not the same kind of feel, or it could just be in my head for all I know.
Mhm.
But yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say is like because I got the brand new swanky ass TV. First off, Fortnite looks really awesome on my new swanky ass TV. I gotta just preface with that. Like, there's some cool like of course, the grass and the fields, they look photorealistic at times, and then also there's a lot of particle effects, a lot of like mist and like cloudy weather and stuff like that. That just like the lighting just makes that world illuminate really well.
Mhm.
That's another thing I want to say. But I turned on the frame rate counter because I wanted to know if they were gonna do 4K at 120 for Fortnite. The only game that I'm aware of right now is on the Xbox Series X, which is Ori 2, can do 4K
Yeah.
120. And I was, crossing my fingers that like on the PS5 that, or I haven't tried the Series X by the way because my main account is on the PS5, but I want to see if they can do 4K 120 on Fortnite. And I don't know, but so far it's looking
Mhm.
like 4K 60. The frame counter's at 60, so a little bummed about that. If there's any updates, I'll give an update. But yeah, that's my spiel when it comes to Fortnite. I believe you have a spiel this week.
Cool. Yeah, I not nothing too long, but I have this group of friends from Brazil. Two of my friends from Brazil actually that we had not really talked in a while, but we reconnected last year during the pandemic. And after we reconnected and we were like chatting back and forth on WhatsApp and things like that for a while, we decided to establish a weekly thing where we get to hop on a call every Friday night. Most weeks, sometimes we're not available or somebody's not available, but most weeks we hop on a call Friday night, and then you know sometimes we just talk for 2 or 3 hours and hang out, talk about what's going on in their life and my life and etc. And sometimes we play a game together. So we played a lot of Fall Guys together. We played Among Us together a few times. And then this time, last Friday, I got them to play Fortnite with me for the first time. I had been, pushing for it for a few weeks. I was like, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite recently. It's really fun and blah 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 blah. And they finally almost like kind of begrudgingly accepted to play it. And it's not because they were hating on the game or whatever. Their experience was they had only tried it like a long time ago, and they did like 3 matches, and they were like, I don't get it, and then quit. Like that was the case for both of them. And so this time there were a lot of things that were interesting for me. As in, like, number one, it was the first time that I was really playing with friends, playing with the squad. I always play Fortnite solo. In general, I usually play games solo. I'm not like a big multiplayer squad up kind of guy. And then number two, it was very interesting to see their reactions to everything and to see that kind of like perception of what it's like to play Fortnite when you're not really in it. And like I feel like I was kind of in it in a way just from listening to you talk about it all the time. But so let's get into it. Okay. And I'm already
Okay,
going long
it's
here, but this is
so I just want to. It's really weird that you're the leader, which is crazy. But okay, all right, go for
yeah,
it.
no, all right. So we go in, they install the game, and then they go in the game for the first time. And the first thing is they're pissed off because they say, we're in the call together, and they're like, there's a fucking cutscene playing. I can't quit out of this cutscene. It's been running for 30 seconds. When does this cutscene end? What the fuck is going on? And they're like really frustrated over the fact that they have no idea what's going on. They can't quit out of this cutscene. They just want to play the game. They have no context for what's happening, right? And then like one of my friends is like, wait, what does Predator do? Wait, the Alien, like Master Chief, how do they have all these licenses? And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, man, you've been living under a rock almost, but it's just because, they've just been out of the conversation about this game. And I was like, yeah, they have all these licenses. That's why this game is so successful. They just managed to do that. So what they're going through at this moment when they're complaining is that they're going through the end of the season cutscene that you'd go through, like forgot what it's called, but there's whenever a season ends, there's a cutscene, you play a little single player segment. Eventually they were able to quit out of it, but it took a long time. So it led me to thinking, it's a little odd that they would have that be something you can't skip and something you have to go through even when you did not play the game before. Because for somebody that's not familiar with the game, it's really confusing. So we go into the game. They really struggle with the UI. They didn't think it was intuitive at all, and they kept complaining about it, figuring out what to do with the UI. And then eventually we go into a match, right? So the first match we go in, I'm teaching them how to play the game. Okay, we'll go here. That's how you ping. That's how, you get guns. Like, this is how the gun hierarchy works and blah, 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 blah. And like teaching them the mechanics.
It's a lot
But
of
we got
information.
I know it's a lot of information, right? And like, oh, and you can build and you can like destroy things to get materials. And we got so distracted doing that, Lewis, that it was my responsibility. I totally forgot about the storm, and the storm just like passes by us and leaves us behind. And we start taking. I was like, oh no, fuck. So then we proceed to like try to run back into the circle, but we just die. So the first game, we literally die at the first storm phase for the storm without coming into contact with anybody else. So at this point, they're like, Daniel, this game is stupid. Let's get out of here. So we start. I was like, no, wait, stick with me. So we do the second game. Now this time, they know a little bit more of what's going on. And they get their guns, and then we squad up together. We go around together. I'm telling them what to do. They're also like learning the ways. And but one of my friends, especially, is like really good at shooters in general. So like he kind of picked it up pretty fast as well. So we're going around, and then we get a kill, and then we get another kill, and then we get another kill, and we're like, and they're having fun, they're like having a good time, they're getting kills, they're like, oh shit, okay, I'm beginning to get it. And Lewis, no joke, we win the second game. Okay, wait. They're like, okay, cool, this was fun, all right, let's play again. We play again, we win again, and then we play again, and we win again. We won 3 games in a row. The first game we died to the storm, and then we win 3 games in a row, victory royale. So they're celebrating over there. They're like, man, we got this. We're so good at this. And in my head, I'm like, those fuckers at Epic. You motherfuckers. If you're listening to this, you know who you are. They've gotten so good at making you feel like you're good at this game, even when you're not. You know what I mean?
I caught shenanigans when you got victory royale. I never got a solo win, by the way. And my friends and I, we know what we're doing. We struggle. We struggle to get like we'd be happy to get second place at times, but it's so
after that the game slowly. Yeah. After that, the game slowly started to balance themselves out. And we kept playing. After that, we had many where we didn't win. And it felt like they were getting progressively harder. And then we managed to win like our 10th game again, and then we quit after that. So we got a total of like 4 wins. The last one felt legitimate. The first 3 not really. But it was such a good time. They were like so happy about it. We're playing for like 4 hours, like way longer than we typically are in this call for. And they were like, yeah, let's do it again. We get it. That's cool. So I just wanted to bring this up because 1, it was a lot of fun to play with the squad. I had never done that before. 2, it was cool to kind of experience the game through those lenses, and then also see how schemy those fuckers at Epic are. And I love Epic Games, by the way. I'm not talking shit, but how schemy they are that they managed to make you feel that way and managed to make you hooked into the game, even when you're playing it for the first time, even when you're begrudgingly playing it, when you're already like, you already set yourself up to not like it. So
I bet you were in a lobby with nothing but bots, and that's why you never encountered anybody. And yet the storm still killed you because it's like the game was trying to tee you up to win, by the way. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
And you still fucked it up.
Anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm just, hey, look, I'm pretty sure you were in an easy lobby. There's easy like lower skilled players are gonna be match made with lower skilled players. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not hating. I kind of wish that I was in those lower skill ranked or match made against those lower skill players so I can get some easy dubs. But no, they don't. Epic doesn't like me like that. But yeah, that's actually very funny because you know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. For the most part, a part of me still hates Fortnite. Like I don't actually like the game. I like the game because of the social aspect. My favorite part of playing the game is actually hanging out with my friends and playing squads and being on voice chat. It's especially because of COVID. So
Mhm.
I was able to just a lot of times there were a couple of times where I was just having casual conversations with my friends while playing Fortnite because we're like it almost kind of felt like we're just staying in touch with each other kind of thing as far as like oh what's new with you oh I'm starting this new job whatever like that kind of stuff like we were
Yeah.
just side talk while also playing. So I feel like it's more of a social thing for me, especially that gotcha mechanics where it's all about having the swaggiest skins and the swaggiest emotes and everything like that. So it really feeds into my vanity. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. So the one
Yeah.
last thing about on this segment that we talk about as far as Fortnite is I got a tweet pulled up here, and I feel like I've seen this name before at Dan Sabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. I feel like it's somebody I think I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure. But he put a tweet on a tweet out to us and tagged us both in it. And he's guys, what do you guys think? And then it says here, I think Fortnite should add a pregnant female skin. Every kill she slowly gives birth. When in water, blood comes out. At 10 kills, she gives birth, and the baby can be your pet. Thoughts? Fortnite should hire me, yo. That is a terrible
Terrible.
thing. And I just said, well, that's a thought. It sounds like horrible in my opinion. You said, LOL, no thanks. Yeah, I feel like that is like a very terrible, terrible like sounding thing, and it feels like for Epic would be canceled in a heartbeat if they were to implement such a thing. Ah, anyways, yeah, I was just saying that Fortnite would be canceled, but whatever if they were to do that. All right, I'm gonna do the thing.
Stepagal. I know him. That wrote that. He just tagged us on it.
Yeah, I know. He retweeted someone else. Anyways, but yeah, that's I guess that's pretty much it for the battle bus here. So let's go ahead and move on. It's time for topic of the show.
The show.
I feel like I want to steal like tots.
I know. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that because we might get a copyright hit.
I know, right? So yeah, for topic of the show this week, we're going to be talking about E3 because E3's 2021 was announced, and leading up to this, there was a lot of talks about whether or not E3 was going to be paywalled and all this stuff, and now it's like, now it's a digital event, it's going to be free, and it's going to be Saturday through Tuesday, I believe, and that's kind of like when the press conferences happen. But E3 proper, like the actual like show stuff, it was usually during the weekdays. So let's go ahead and read this article from IGN, and it reads E3 2021 plans announced. Xbox and Nintendo are involved. No signs of Sony. The lists are Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, and Koch Media confirmed. The ESA has announced its plans for the first digital-only E3, because last year was canceled, which will include Nintendo and Xbox, but certainly does not include Sony. Taking place from June 12th through the 15th, E3 2021 is confirmed to include appearances from Nintendo and yada yada. Okay, Sony is conspicuous by its absence on that list, and we've contacted the company for comment. Other major missing companies include EA, which has recently preferred to host its own EA Play events during the E3's timings. Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, Tencent, 505, and Activision Blizzard. The ESA makes clear that the lists of partners marks early commitments, so other publishers and developers could come on board at a later date. However, before the show's pandemic related cancellation, Sony had confirmed that it has no plans to attend E3 2020. After announcing that the show would return as a digital only event, the E3 website promises live press conferences and a 4-day long video stream, and says that the show will be reimagined and hyper engaged digital experience. Concrete details about the show remain thin on the ground, but ESA president used a press release to say, "We are evolving this year's E3 to a more inclusive event, but we'll still look to excite the fans with major reveals and insider opportunities that make this event the indispensable center stage for video games." So, Dan, I gotta say, I am, very happy that E3 is happening. A part of me almost kind of felt like summer of gaming last year was extremely exhausting, even for us and as a podcast, like we were just tired of it. I kind of am looking forward to everything just sort of being consolidated and squeezed into one like 4-day, like, get all your conferences out, get all your announcements done, don't be late to the party. Like, I feel like that's what I want. And E3 facilitating it is cool. I don't necessarily think it has to be E3. So if it's like a Jeff Keighley thing where it's like, all right, these are the dates, and like, Summer of Gaming is here, or IGN does their thing or whatever, it's like it's all here kind of thing. But yeah, so what do you think?
I really like this. I am very excited to see this story. Obviously, we don't know too much about it yet, and it might be too early to get excited. But fuck it, I'm excited anyways. I think this is a really good sign that we're gonna have something better this year than we did last year. Last year, I remember in the beginning of the year, I said something akin to, I'm excited to experiencing E3 from the comfort of my home as a digital event before it was officially canceled, and then it was canceled, and we ended up having Summer Game Fest and everything else that happened that most likely will still happen this year anyway, but it was spread throughout many months. Each company was just kind of doing whatever they wanted. E3 timeframe, that E3 week anymore, which meant that we had these small bite-sized conferences every week months. It felt like it never ended. There was a point where it was like September and there was a Square Enix presentation and we didn't even give a fuck because we had been doing it for so long. That we I didn't even want to watch anything anymore. Like it really it makes it less special. Like it's kind of like saying, rather than having Christmas and getting a great gift for Christmas, what if we give you like there's no Christmas anymore, but you get, this like little piece of candy like once a week for 3 months or something? I'll be like, no, I want Christmas. I want my big, gift. I want something fun. I want something nice. I want an exciting week with family and presents and everything else. So that's how I feel about E3. Like it's like this fun week where the whole industry, all the fans, everybody rallies around this one event to watch everything together, to be excited together, to hype up stuff, to see new announcements and see everybody's reaction. And I feel like everybody benefits. It's kind of like a high tide lifts all boats kind of situation. Everybody benefits from E3 being this consolidated, cool, awesome thing. Obviously, there's the counter arguments to that, which is like, there's definitely a lot of news that can get flooded in the mix of everything else. But I still feel like ultimately for the big companies, for the big announcements, they want to be in that position. They want to be in that center stage. And then it's fun to talk about, like who won E3, who had the best conferences, who had the worst conferences, how does everything stack up? What are your favorite games? What are your favorite announcements, and etc. And everybody's excited, everybody's following it. So we don't know what this year is going to be like, but based on this story, based on the fact that Nintendo is surprisingly involved, that Xbox is involved, even though they're going to be running their own conferences, that they're somehow involved under this E3 banner, and that are going to happen within those dates, this makes me really excited. And I have a feeling, I am optimistic that we're going to have a cooler, more consolidated week of awesome announcements. And there's going to be a few other things peppered out, like maybe Sony's state of play. Maybe they're going to do it, a little bit before, or a little bit after this week. Who knows, right? Maybe there's going to be other things happening around. Square Enix was missing from this as well. Maybe they're going to be doing their presents like once a month for the rest of the year or whatever the hell. But it's still cool that we're going to get to have this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's two things that I'm like kind of wondering about, like logistic standpoints, because number one, like, I don't know what kind of pool the ESA has as far as like being able to charge to be featured. You know what I mean? Like, With the old E3 conferences, you were paying, for like, booths and vendor exhibitor spaces. Like it doesn't sound right for the ESA or the E3, for the E3 Twitch channel or E3 socials to be like charging, companies to be like to come and be, promote there and stuff like that. Like I just don't see Nintendo paying into this and stuff like that. I think for me it makes more sense to like for companies like as big as Nintendo and Xbox to not be charged to be featured. You know what I mean? Like, because they're the
Hmm.
ones that bring in the hype. So the E3 needs them more than they need E3, especially with Nintendo having
Yeah.
done Nintendo Directs and Xbox doing Inside Xbox and PlayStation still not even being a no-show as far as they could just easily slot in and drop a state of play during E3 week, like or even during Sunday night during their usual press conference time, anyways. There's not to say that they wouldn't just figure out what their schedule is and like plan around it. Like even with EA, whenever they did their EA Play events, they were like on Saturday before E3, so they were still getting like E3 conversations, E3 convos, and water
Hmm.
cooler talk, but not having to pay for the E3 and all the expenses that come with it. You just sort of like manage your own marketing. Materials and your own messaging, and you're in control from like all the verticals. I feel like that's more a thing that all the companies are wanting. um, then that also comes to like my question about timing, is because if a company is going to be able to just do their own thing on their own time, Christmas is going to sort of like be stretched, and that's what basically last year is what happened when everyone does their own
Yeah.
timing. And like I don't know, it just kind of feels like there has to be some kind of outlet that is strong enough to like have that kind of pull to make sure that these companies do it at a on their time or whatever. But I don't know if there's a company out there that can, because the ESA is losing their leverage as far as um, audiences go, as far as like attendance and relevancy. So I don't know if like even Jeff Keighley or IGN or Kotaku or anyone can like uh, orchestrate a thing, an event where everyone all comes together and announces at the same time within 5 days of each other, kind of thing. So that's my
That's
that's my question, my little takeaway.
That's a fair point, and I think a lot of people theorized that E3 was going to be dead, and that the ESA did not have enough power to keep doing this anymore, and that there was no reason for, like you said, for these companies to keep paying the ESA as much as they were to be featured at E3, with the way that things are right now. However, I almost feel like just this fact alone, like this article and what's being announced here, is kind of the counterpoint to that by itself, because they somehow still did it. It's still happening this year, and Xbox is involved, Nintendo is involved. I don't know if they've lowered the prices significantly over having a booth on the show floor. Obviously, you would expect that. I don't know if maybe they're coming to agreements and deals that maybe are not even that. Maybe those companies are not even paying to be there, because like you said, it kind of benefits both sides. And if anything, it benefits the ESA more. Obviously, if there's an official E3 like Twitch channel or YouTube presence, whatever it is, that kind of brings everything together, it does help all the publishers get a little bit more visibility than they would have otherwise, because there are people out there, albeit probably not that many, that would not necessarily tune into a Nintendo Direct, but that maybe will just have the E3 channel live in their home and their TV during E3 week, and that like will almost like by accident end up watching the Nintendo Direct that way, and might go out and buy a Switch or buy a Nintendo product, right? Because of something that they saw announced. So that's ultimately what like the E3 atmosphere creates. I would have thought that the ESA was kind of losing power and would not be able to pull this together anymore eventually. However, I am happy to see that they seem to be turning it around in some way. The fact that they're still able to do this year, and I think this is a sign that we're still going to have E3 next year. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if maybe some of these companies realized that they lost a lot of their audience by doing their independent shows completely outside of the E3 window, and that's why they're jumping in. They're making a point to jump in right now,
Hmm.
like Warner Brothers. Like I know for sure that's not the case with Nintendo and Xbox probably, but maybe it is with Ubisoft, right? Like maybe Ubisoft did not get as much visibility in their stuff than they used to at E3.
Well, I know
Um,
I know that the most viewed live stream, most viewed gaming like press conference last year was the state of play for Sony whenever Sony announced the PS5, like as far as number of
mhm.
viewers and stuff. So I feel like with Sony specifically, they're not even they can't even be bothered to talk about E3
Yeah.
because they know that they can bring the hype alone. So with Sony's social channels being where they're being A1, why even talk to the ESA? I guess.
Here's the thing with Sony though, and Sony's such a weird company that that would be almost like another good topic of the show to do on its own, just Sony, right? And like you're right. Like the PS5 announcement was this thing that they kept holding off on, and everybody's like, "Where is it? Where is it? Give it to me!" Until they finally did, and it paid off because it was this huge, event that everybody was watching because they managed to just hold it for so long. But then after that, I feel like every state of play that they've done with just regular announcements have come and went, and then nobody even cared. So if it's like I don't. Sometimes I feel like with Sony, like with their decisions and the things that they do over there from a marketing perspective and a lot of other perspectives as well. I sometimes wonder if there's a team of people within Sony whose goal is to self-destruct. Like they're trying to like ruin it. There's like a team of like really smart people that make really smart decisions, really good stuff. And then there's also the team that's like, "Hey, why don't we shut down the Vita store?" Like, "Hey, why don't we drop, this new first party game in the same week that we're announcing the new console so nobody buys it?" Like, like I don't know, like they do really weird shit sometimes. Anyway, I'm
I love your tinfoil hat thinking, man. Oh my god. But yeah, no, I just we're gonna definitely have a whole like topic of the show on Sony and all the other companies and stuff like that in the future. Obviously, that's forthcoming. As far as you listeners and dear viewers, you can go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com right now and ask and answer this week's prompt. You can. The question is, oh, you didn't even know about it.
Yeah, we haven't done one of those in like many months.
I know, right? This week's prompt is, what is your favorite E3 moment, and will you miss it if it's gone?
Oh,
So,
that's a good one. That's a good
yeah.
one. What is your favorite E3 moment, Lewis? Or do you want to talk about
I
it
feel
next
like
week?
there was the Sony press conference from from 2013, whenever they announced the PS4, where they announced the
Mm,
price, and then they were like how to
yeah.
share games, and then they like
Eh,
this,
yeah, and
yeah.
then they also announced all the games that would come out in like 2019 and 2020.
I feel,
Like,
but yeah,
like
but so like
Dreams, Final Fantasy 7.
that E3 with 2013 was basically number one. It Sony just spiked the football whenever they hit the touchdown,
Mm,
and that also set the cadence for the generation to come as far as Sony is like the new market leader. Like they just basically took the crown and wore it for the whole generation and stuff like that. So, and of course Microsoft handed themselves their own L whenever Don Matrick would say, "Is like, oh yeah, you can." We do have. If you don't have internet for you can go to the Xbox 360 or whatever like that. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Which that's kind of similar to there's this moment from when the PS3 was announced where people were like, "How can people afford $600 for a console?" And then they said, like, "Oh, you can get a second job or you can buy a PS2 or whatever."
yeah, I
I don't
remember
remember
that.
the quote because I didn't watch that one. One of my favorite E3 moments, it's kind of random actually, but it really hit me when it happened. And I think it was one of the first E3s that I was actually watching live. And it was when they announced Donkey Kong Country Returns for the Wii, which I think that would have been like what, like 2009, 10. I don't even remember when that game came out. But I played the hell off out of Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, and I had just kind of forgot about it. Like there hadn't been a new Donkey Kong Country game in forever. There was Donkey Kong 64, but that doesn't count as something else completely. And then I just remember like there's an E3 moment, like screen goes dark. They're like gonna show something new. You have no idea what's to come, and then that Donkey Kong music starts playing. Like the jungle hijinks is like, and then I'm like, holy shit, new Donkey Kong, and it really caught me off guard. Like it was like I would have never seen it coming, and immediately took me back to my childhood. And we kind of take it for granted now because that then we got the second one like a few years later, and people were like, enough Donkey Kong, Metroid, I want Metroid. But it was cool that they went like it was really cool that they went back to that. It was like it was kind of the equivalent of if they went back to like F-Zero nowadays or something. The franchise was dead at that point. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely
Yeah.
a lot like as far as like uh, when it comes to that E3 with the PlayStation 4, like with the E3 2013 was like the first E3 that I watched live, and everything else like everything before that I've always watched like a pre-recorded or whatever, like highlight reels and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But I think that might have been the last year Nintendo was there, as far as like they were showing off Nintendo Land, and it was hella boring. It was very dry. And yeah, I can't think of any Nintendo moments and stuff because they're all been, they've all been digital events with like Nintendo Directs, and they don't really, nothing really pops out as far as. Oh, actually,
I,
you know what?
I
The one
actually
that pops out was the Robot Chicken one, whenever Reggie was throwing fireballs at the audience. Yeah.
I actually liked the Wii U announcement back in the day. I actually thought that was a good one. I was excited for it at that point. But who would have guessed that there would be so much confusion and that the console is going to fail so bad. But that aside, I do have a point about Nintendo, and I think it's something that we kind of threw around a while ago, and we didn't really get too into it, but I feel, Lewis, like since Nintendo switched to the directs as opposed to doing the press conferences, that they never had like a hype moment in the same level that they used to during the conference phase. So when a new direct comes out and people are disappointed, I'm usually like, eh. That's just I feel like I've lowered my standard with the directs because it's not that they're bad, like they're good, like they have new cool announcements, but I don't feel like I remember I can remember a moment from a direct that was like an epic awesome moment.
True.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
exactly why. I
Yeah.
mean, like they've been good. There have been good, solid ones, but they don't
Yeah.
stand out. They don't stand the test of time in your mind. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, we've been on this for a while. We're already an hour into the show, so let's go ahead and actually talk about the news. All right. So for this week on the news here, we got five stories to talk about. The first one is regarding MLB The Show 21. It says here that it's coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one, and says here with another thrilling opening day in the books, Major League Baseball fans around the world were treated to all the nail biters, dingers, and bat flips that they could handle. Okay, yada yada. Let's go ahead and just move on to the announcements. We're delighted to announce that MLB The Show is coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. Will be available on 420 on Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One, as well as on Android phones and tablets via xCloud, the beta for Ultimate members. And yeah, the MLB Xbox One and Xbox Series editions will be included on Game Pass, so members will be able to play the best version of the games regardless of which consoles they're on. And with cross-platform play and progress, you can play against others online and earn and use content across the platforms and generation you choose. So yeah, with regards to this story, it says here that Sony claims that it was MLB's decision to put its baseball game on Xbox Game Pass. So Microsoft and the MLB made that deal and negotiated that completely without Sony's involvement, which is it's interesting because a Sony first-party studio was the developers of MLB The Show. So Dan, is
Yeah.
this an ultimate anime betrayal, or what do you think?
It's a crazy story, honestly. Like I'm almost like surprised that, it's been talked about, but I feel like it should be talked about even more. Like let's think about this for a second. A Sony first party title developed by a Sony first party studio. It's going to come out on Xbox for free in quotes for most of the people that own an Xbox have Xbox Game Pass probably because they push that subscription so hard. It's like the main thing that they're pushing for right now. I'm talking about the Series X actually because there are plenty of people that had Xboxes before. And those people are gonna just be getting MLB The Show, which is a Sony first party. So it's like the Sony fans who have followed this franchise on the platform that it had been available on, the Sony fanboys will have to pay presumably $60 or $70 to play this game in their platform when Xbox fans are not only finally getting the game in their platform, they're getting it for free. So, I feel like it doesn't feel as big because it's MLB The Show and not God of War. But in some ways, this is like God of War being added to Game Pass. The new God of War being added to Game Pass. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that this is happening. And granted, it makes sense that this was a negotiation between MLB and Xbox themselves. It sounds like the game will be published by MLB as opposed to being on Xbox, as opposed to being published by Sony. It will still be developed by Sony San Diego published by MLB,
Could have sworn it was
which means
published
that
by Xbox that they were gonna publish it, but yeah.
yeah, maybe there's some more info on that. That would be even more shocking, actually, if you
Oh.
think about it. But it's just it's like certain barriers are being broken right now, Lewis, and it's like it's very weird. Like obviously, there's no betrayal going on because this wasn't, Sony didn't choose to do it. But even if they did, that wouldn't necessarily be a betrayal because that's more like, like they're getting in bed with somebody that, it's kind of like you're the child, right? Like as the fanboy, you're the child. Your parent, they just found a new lover, and now you got a new step parent or something. But they were single before, so it's fine. It should be okay. So I don't know, dude. It's just like how it's hard to unpack. But here's the thing that I think. A lot of Sony fanboys will feel burned by this in some way.
Because they still
So
have
I
to pay
feel
money
like,
for it, and
yeah.
Microsoft, if you're already subscribed, you just download it. Yeah.
So I feel like it behooves Sony to try to address that in some way. For instance,
What would be really hilarious is if they make MLB The Show 20 like free on what's service called? Their
PlayStation Plus or
now
Now.
PlayStation Now. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could try doing something like that, either PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus. Will, because I think they're gonna try to get that goodwill and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just dislike fanboy behavior. So I kind of enjoy that this is like a slap in the face to the fanboys personally. Because I don't know, man. It's I don't know. It's like it by itself is not that big a deal, but it's still just like it's just a crazy thing, Like it's just something that's never happened before. Like, like what's next? Like Forbidden West come into Game Pass? Probably not.
I mean, Fame mentioned it on the Double XP podcast, so yeah, if you're on the YouTube channel, it's there. He was talking about that. There's always a chance for maybe Spider-Man, like Miles Morales 2 or Spider-Man 2, to be Game Pass as well. Because if you think about it, Insomniac is a Sony-owned studio now because they were recently purchased. Insomniac is going to be developing the next Spider-Man game, presumably, and since Sony doesn't own the rights to Spider-Man, they just have like an exclusive arrangement to make the Spider-Man game. So if Disney or Marvel or whoever says that you have to make it multiplat, who's to say that Microsoft wouldn't just do the same thing and be like, let's just put that bitch on Game Pass?
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting. Like it's interesting to think of what could potentially happen. It is just like with the Sony games coming to PC, with now like this story, is just like the whole like I mean exclusives are still alive and will continue to happen. But I personally like to see the walls being broken and to just like wonder what's next and how much farther can we push this? Because like at the end of the day, Lewis, the ideal future is that games work more like DVDs or any other kind of media, really, where you just you just buy the media and you play it in the box you want to play it on. If you want to play it in this kind of box, you play it on that kind of box. If you want to play it on that kind of box, you play it on that kind of box. It's kind of crazy that video games are like the only media where that's a thing, where it's like, hey, like if you buy this game, you can only play it on this box. If you want to play all the games, you got to have all these different boxes. Like, can you imagine that idea for like DVD? Like if you had to buy multiple DVD players so that you could play different DVDs. Now, granted, I understand games are different because there's an interactive element to it, right? So there's things that you can do with a dual sense that you couldn't do with the Switch Joy-Cons, and vice versa as well. So there's also an argument there. But I also think, I don't know, I like to believe that we're breaking these barriers and that the future is going to have less exclusives as opposed to more exclusives. But we'll
Yeah.
see.
And we talked about how, like last week, about how Microsoft got their $10 billion HoloLens deal with the army and stuff like that, or with the military. They got money to throw around now. They can just drop any number of money to make anything on a Game Pass day one. And it almost kind of feels like they almost want. It almost kind of feels like they should force Sony's hands to make MLB The Show 21 day one PS Plus, like what they did with that one car game for the PS5. I forgot what it was called. Damn.
Destruction All Stars.
Destruction All
Stars.
Stars. Yeah, like that. Something like that. But I don't think they will. I mean, there's too much money on the table, probably, I would say. That's why I was saying MLB The Show 20 could be on PS Plus or on
Hmm.
their version of Game Pass that they don't market really well. But yeah, that's there's definitely a lot of takes to go on that, and I don't want us to linger too much. But I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say about Microsoft. Oh yeah, I remember the idea regarding like who history is going to prove right as far as business models, because Xbox is in the
Mm.
empire business, as we talked about last week on the show title, how they're trying to sell subscriptions to Game Pass, and
Hmm.
just interact with the brand, and Sony is trying to have exclusives to be able to buy the box, buy our box. And it almost kind of feels
Hmm.
like which one is the correct business model? Like, is the old way of doing things of, buy our box, you see our shiny exclusives, you can only play it here. Is that going to be the thing that really pulls people to, buy and choose PlayStation over the fact that you have like all these conveniences and consumer-friendly practices over at Xbox, and just have it your way, just Netflix everything kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see, right? Like I'm excited to see. I hope they both succeed. That's really what I'm hoping for. I hope that all companies have like their most successful generation over the next generation. I think that would be great. Like, because the Nintendo is having one of its most successful consoles right now, and with PS5 and Series X, I bet PS5 is selling better than Series X. I think there's a lot of anecdotal data that seems to indicate that. However, both companies are selling every console they can produce. It's still not easy to get a Series X, just like it's not easy to get a PS5 either. They're not available on store shelves at a GameStop. I know because I went to a GameStop today.
And if they
you
are,
know,
they're
they're
selling a bundle where they're like trying to rip you off, but whatever.
exactly. So really it's the interesting thing to think about in regards to that is that the company that has sold more between Sony and Microsoft is merely the one that has been able to produce more boxes, right? Because like they're all selling out anyway. So if Sony produced more boxes, then they're ahead. But if for some reason production lines or whatever, Xbox managed to put 10 million Xboxes to sell as opposed to Sony's 8 or something, then they both sold all of that, and part of it is in scalpers' hands and up on eBay or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It seems I'm very excited to get some numbers. I really want to start seeing some numbers. I don't think we've seen. I don't even think Sony has released sales numbers yet,
Nope.
which is kind of surprising because they're usually very upfront about it. Well, as
I
far
think they
as
only give away like the opening week sales numbers, and that's about it, or something
yeah,
like that. Just like, oh, we've had the most successful launch.
as
Yeah.
far as Microsoft goes, we might never know.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Metroid Prime's 2D fan remake is now playable. The GameCube classic with a twist. This comes from Polygon, written by Anna Diaz. It says here, Retro Studios GameCube classic Metroid Prime is getting a fan-made 2D remake called Prime 2D. That's a very snazzy name. The effort which has been going since 2004 called Prime 2D is led by a group called Team SCU, while screenshots of the game went as part of an April Fool's Day joke. The demo is in fact real, according to a forum post by the creators. The remake is the result of many years of love. In 2017, the team behind Metroid Prime 2D shared, while public progress has appeared stagnant for the last 5 years, there's actually been a tremendous amount of foundational work being done in private. Now those following finally get to see just what the team has been up to. Metroid Prime is largely remembered by the fans how it was translated a 2D franchise into a 3D first-person shooter. Prime 2D will attempt the inverse and remaking the GameCube shooter from the ground up as a side-scroller, basically in the vein of Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. So this is dope actually. So while you talk, Dan, I'm just gonna have the gameplay, playing here in the background. Go for it.
Yeah, and it's funny, it was a slow news week, so I kind of threw this in here as a bone to you because you typically like these kinds of stories, and also because it's cool and interesting, and it's more of a check this out if anything than a news story. But I think the lingering question, and congrats to the team, things look good, and I'm excited to see how this develops. But I think that the only question here really is how long till Nintendo shuts this down.
Yeah, they did that with AM2R, like another Metroid Prime remake, and
Yeah.
I actually gotta say that I wanted to ask you if you played AM2R because that would have been a
Mm-mm.
good comparison if you played like AM2R and the 3DS game and compared the two. But yeah, gotta say this is looking very clean. Like I'm seeing it and it just looks. It almost. I mean, it definitely looks modern. Like it looks like retro modern kind of thing. So I love it.
Mhm.
And I've only the only Metroid game I've actually played and beat was Super Metroid, which is like that classic 2D Metroidvania. So I've never actually played any of the 3D games. I mean, I've played it just to try just to make sure my discs are working, and that's about it. But yeah, I want to say was this I didn't read it in the story, but is this one of those situations where like the demo is downloadable or something?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. But
Oh yeah, it says
you
here
can
over 14,000 people have already downloaded at the time of the writing of the
yeah.
article. So yeah, that's good. That's pretty awesome. I probably should get it before the Nintendo ninjas are
Yep.
swipe this thing down.
Yeah, unfortunately, the reality is we're probably never going to see this project actually be finished just because of that. If it's getting pressed now, Nintendo's going to get on it as they've done before, which is very unfortunate. Once again, if we ever do a topic on Nintendo, that's also something to talk about. How there's probably a group in there, an evil group that's trying to just destroy any any Nintendo fan's dream of just paying homage to the creations they love.
Super Mario
It's very
64 on
sad.
PC, like the
Yeah.
Splatoon 2 tournament being canceled, Melee tournament being canceled. Like Nintendo has been on a bad PR stunt lately. But yeah, that's I'm surprised they decided to put it out like at the demo and stuff instead of doing the thing where AM2R the whole complete game was put out and stuff like that. I feel like they should have kept this under wraps and kept it a secret until like the whole thing was done. So
Yeah.
that way, because we saw that with that one Pokemon ROM hack game, it was like Pokemon Uranium or something like that. So where it was like a completely different fan made Pokemon game and stuff like that. So, anyways, yeah. Boo! You just made me feel. You just made me get mad at Nintendo. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My
Next,
services are free.
Next up, Video Game Chronicles reports that it says here there are the 138 PlayStation games that won't be available anywhere after the store closures. So the PSP, the Vita, and the PS3 digital stores are set to close, and some games aren't going to be available elsewhere. So we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago, actually 2 weeks or now 3 weeks in a row regarding the store closure.
Yeah.
And so now we actually have a list of the games that are going to be completely like exclusive to these ecosystems and let's see here. It says here the likes of Infamous, Festival of Blood, Echo, Chrome 2, Luminous, Supernova, The Last Guy, Rain. Oh, you gave sharing the love to Rain. Trash
Yeah.
Panic, Pixel Junk Racers, Tokyo Jungle, TXK. I have that game on the Vita when it was a free game of the month. But yeah, is there anything here else worth shouting out as far as what we're losing?
Well, there's a huge list, and I didn't go through everything. I just skimmed through it. I actually so VGC has done a great job at looking through every single game in all these stores. They had another article where they listed all the games that will be lost in this. It was like over 2,000 games. And then those are the ones that are effectively like exclusive to digital storefronts on these places. I don't know if they got everything right though, because I had one game that I was looking at on the PS3 that I'm pretty sure is gonna be dead, which is Tokyo Jungle. And I don't see this in this list, so they could even be missing some stuff here. But the point is just I want to keep reiterating this, and that's why the story keeps being brought up, because this is a legit problem that a lot of these games that were created, they were like a work of art and a product that were created by a team and released to a platform that will not be available anymore in any way in the future. And that also happens with games getting delisted and happens in other scenarios as well. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is a list of 138 games. Shout out to Rain, like you said. That's the one that jumped out to me the most here. Infamous Festival of Blood. That's also, that's a well-regarded DLC for the original Infamous, I believe. There's some other interesting things here as well, but those are not, those are the games that are going to be literally lost in the sense that they are not going to be able to be purchasable in any other storefront ever again. However, there are also other games that are not listed here that will be practically lost, even though not literally, because the only way to buy them will be physically. And there's a lot of games that are available physically that you still can't reasonably buy nowadays, and that you probably won't be able to in the future. So this is really something that, you guys, if you're listening to this, and I was talking earlier about collecting, you really want to look into this. If you have any kind of love for, the PS3, the PSP, the PS Vita games that you've always wanted to play, or that you wanted to check out or try that you never did, now is the time to go out and look at your options at either buying these digitally or physically, because these prices are going to go up. Like, even for the games that are available physically, some of them have already been going up. um they're going to go up further, like we talked about the GameCube and the PS2 and etc., and how the prices for some of those games are astronomical. When you go back further, 64, NES, SNES, everything. The prices for some of those games used, I'm not talking new, like used, is astronomical. Um, and sometimes it's your only option. So if there are games from these platforms that you're interested in, you really need to look into it right now, or soon, before the stores go offline. Or you may find yourself 5 years down the road being like, man, I really want to rebuy that game I used to play on the PS3 that I don't own anymore. Or, oh man, I really want to play that game that I remember, like that cult classic, whatever the hell. And then like your only choice might be spending $1,000 on eBay, which is not practically viable for the majority of people.
Right.
Yeah.
All I know is I need to buy Suikoden 2 because I saw the prices of it. It's gone up since
Yep.
last week. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think I said like it was like 150, 200 last week, and now it's like 600. I'm like, damn.
And I actually, Lewis, I think that game might have been delisted, by the way, already. So
God
I,
damn it,
yeah,
those
yeah,
bastards.
you might already be fucked on that one. So that's why it's important to look into the stuff. And yeah, that's my spill there.
Those bastards. I was actually
Mhm.
seeing another YouTube video, YouTuber cover the topic of retro gaming and stuff like that. And now that the PS3 is, 15 years old this year, the PS3 is now considered retro. Like it's now retro
Mhm.
because if you think
Mhm.
about it, like the PS3 could have been like some 10-year-olds or 8-year-olds first console, and now that they're in their early 20s, or
Yep.
they now have the purchasing power, which means that when a lot of people in that like demographic, are now in the market with their own purchasing power, suddenly, supply and demand is going to come into place where like these young people are going to be like, wanting to go and buy their console or their old games of their childhood, and now you're left with a situation where, there's too many people trying to buy the same product, and now you are going to have price go up because of supply and demand. So
Is this a
yeah,
YouTuber that you're talking about? Is that Spawn Wave? I
yeah, that's
believe.
right.
Yeah, I like his channel as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so PS3, that's gonna be a bitch.
Yep.
Yeah, luckily for me, I think I stopped collecting for the PS3, but I think I might have to go back and like take a hard look at some of these digital games and stuff like that, because I haven't bought a PS3 game in a while, and when I did buy them, I bought them when it was really cheap, when it was during the
Hmm.
PS4 generation, where during the middle of the PS4 generation, so prices went down. So yeah.
Hmm.
Anyways, next up here is regarding a rumor. We don't really talk about rumors much, do we?
Not typically, but we've been doing it more recently than we used to.
I guess there's been some slow news weeks. This comes
Yep.
from VGC. It says Xbox is reportedly in the talks to publish Hideo Kojima's next game. Kojima Productions has been staffing up for a new project since late 2020. Let's says here. Microsoft is reportedly in talks with Hideo Kojima, blah, blah, blah. Best known for the Metal Gear Solid series. According to VentureBeat, which claims Xbox hopes to make the second game from Death Stranding studio Kojima Productions, the focus of a plan to leverage Japanese talent. While the site's sources were unable to confirm if Microsoft has yet to actually sign a deal for the new Kojima game, it claims a Kojima Productions figurine spotted on Xbox bosses Phil Spencer's shelf during a presentation in February, which is pictured. I think that's it right there. It says here spotted on Xbox's okay, blah blah blah. Was hinting at a potential partnership. Prior to the launch of the Microsoft latest consoles in November 2020, Spencer also hid an Xbox Series S in plain sight on his bookshelf during interviews. VentureBeat reports was published in response to Wednesday's announcement of a new PS5 game called Abandon. Okay, looks like that stuff is mostly
Yeah.
irrelevance for the rest of the article.
So so as far as I know, one of the weird things that happened here is that there was this. It's almost like two separate stories that shouldn't even have been grouped together, but I understand why they are because this new PS5 game called Abandon got announced, and then everybody went crazy on social media thinking that it was the new Kojima game because Kojima has a history of doing shit like this,
Wait,
where he will announce a game with a different title and without his name being involved until later. Surprise! It's a Kojima game. It's actually Metal Gear 6 or whatever the fuck.
like PT or
So
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like he does that stuff. However, this game, this abandoned game, has been confirmed to have nothing to do with Kojima. Is just some other company doing this or whatever. Um, we can go crazy with the conspiracy theories of whether they're telling the truth or not, but I don't want to do that right now. And then there's this rumor, unrelated. There's this rumor that Kojima could be working with Xbox. I don't know. A lot of this stuff sounds plausible, possible. Death Stranding was probably not a huge sales hit. So I could see it being the kind of thing that
Let me
Sony would
tell
maybe
you
be
a
a little bit
story.
more hesitant on continuing to
True
invest
story.
on. I mean, Kojima Productions specifically, than they were when they first invested in it. They were like, "Oh, this guy is in the market. Let's poach him." This he has a lot of potential. He can do an awesome PlayStation exclusive. After the game actually came out, which was Death Stranding, which I'll stand by right here is a really good game, but didn't really set the world on fire, got mixed critical reception, doesn't seem to have sold a lot for, a AAA Sony published game in comparison to things like God of War and Spider-Man and Horizon, etc. I could see maybe they not being as willing to jump in for a second offer, or maybe not having a huge second offer that Microsoft couldn't you know, go further on anyway. So, and they could do that because it's Microsoft, right? I mean, at this point, they might as well just go out and buy Sony. um, but yeah, it's plausible, but it won't surprise me one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I like Microsoft having money to throw around, that makes sense. And I know Microsoft is really, really big gung ho on trying to court a Japanese audience. So why not get Kojima and stuff like that? Especially because Xbox sales aren't exactly that strong in Japan. As a matter of fact, North America is pretty much really the only market that's really bolstering the Xbox brand in general, like speaking terms. So I'm pretty sure they want a global success that Nintendo and Sony are enjoying. So yeah, this deal on paper, I'm not like wouldn't be surprised, but I feel like when it comes to like Kojima and like Metal Gear Solid One, like like being a PlayStation One exclusive, and Sony was so quick to like lock down Kojima for Death Stranding, it almost kind of feels like that relationship is kind of like they're in bed together and stuff like that. He's not gonna go out, he's not gonna go out and cheat. Come on, Sony takes
He,
care of the bills.
who knows? Here's the most interesting thing actually when you think about it is that Kojima, Metal Gear Solid 5 came out in 2015. Kojima left Konami in 2015. Then we learned about his relationship with Sony next year in 2016, I think. And we saw the first trailer for Death Stranding in Sony's 2016 E3. The game comes out 3 years later, right?
Hmm.
It's now been 2 years since Death Stranding came out. Why have we not seen the next Kojima game yet? I mean, this is not, this guy or like his studio, his team, they're not the kind to wait to announce something. You know what I mean? They seem to be the kind of people that's like, once they got, something going on, they're really quick to put a trailer together and announce it. They've done it before. So it's just kind of surprising when you think about it. Like, you would almost expect that, that Stranding would have come out and that by the end of that same year that he would see the announcement of the new game. But we still haven't seen it. So it makes me wonder, what's Kojima up to? What's going on there? I feel like that fact by itself is interesting,
A
in
part of
my
me almost
opinion.
kind
But
of like thinks that Kojima, like I know his output, but a part of me almost kind of feels like
mhm.
Kojima is such an auteur and such a perfectionist that like I think if he could, he would take a whole console generation to make a game, like 7 years.
People have this perception with Kojima though that's kind of interesting that like like that his games take a long time, but they don't actually. Like he went from putting together the studio to having the game out on the shelves in 3 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty good actually for like a AAA
Not to
game.
mention, like I heard in
Uh,
2017, he was still shopping around for an engine, so it's like before he
yeah,
landed the Decima engine. So,
who
yeah.
knows?
So, who knows? But anyways, that's rumor. So now we got to talk about something very, very serious. And uh, yeah, I don't know how I feel. Like I'm not feel like I'm really good at navigating. I think this is more like Dan's thing as far as like him being able to take things very seriously. I'm more of like the color commentator that just sort of like does like little funny jabs and stuff like that. But this is not no laughing matter. I was just watching my YouTube videos yesterday, day of recording, um, and I stumbled upon a headline that I had no idea about. It was like this headline is 2 weeks old, and I just wanted to shed light on it because I wrote about the situation last year on level1gaming.com. Like I wrote a whole article about all these list of players that have been canceled due to some Me Too allegations that were happening, and former Smash Wii U champion Gonzalo Zero Barrios was implicated in certain bad activities and stuff like that. Like his is definitely not the worst offense out of like all the serious stuff that happened, but it was pretty bad regardless. So he got canceled last year, and so he lost everything. He lost his sponsorships. He lost his Twitter, I believe. I know he lost his. He got banned on Twitch, and he did not get banned on YouTube, but he self exiled himself out of YouTube. He stopped uploading videos. Um, and so yeah, there's this headline that I pulled up here from uh, I believe it's Dexerto, and it says here former Smash Brothers pro Zero reportedly in a hospital after an attempt. And I should probably do a trigger warning here for listeners so you can skip ahead to the extra news. This is talking about some very serious mental health issues, and yeah, I just wanted to have a couple of talking points regarding this situation here, and I want to go ahead and just read this article really quick here. It says here that Zero's former partner Vanessa, which he was featured on Zero's YouTube channel, so somewhere in the last couple of months, Vanessa broke up with Zero. Zero's former partner Vanessa took to Twitter on March 25th to reveal that 2 days prior, on March 23rd, he had attempted self termination. Vanessa uploaded a photo with paramedics and an individual on a stretcher, supposedly Zero, with her tweet. According to the Smash's star's ex, after being treated in the hospital, he was sent to further care. On March 23rd, Gonzalo attempted that. And after being treated in the hospital, he was sent in for further care. Humans are more than their mistakes, especially when they put out more good into this world. I will always love you, even if we're not together, and I'll pray that you see the light. And that was Vanessa's quote regarding the Zero situation. And there's a lot of Smash players like Leffen, giving their condolences. Like Leffen, he said, really sad to hear. Hope he gets the help he needs. And then there was another article that came out here that, and a lot of like discussion that happened post, finding out about Zero's mental health issues and stuff like that. This article's headline says the internet blames Smash Bros community for the attempted self-deletion of.
I think we can say it.
Okay. The internet blames Smash Brothers community for attempted suicide of former pro Gonzalo Zero Barrios. Here's what happened. So this article gives the recap that I already talked about, but I want to scroll down here towards the bottom, and it says here. Okay, is the Smash Brothers community to blame? According to most people, following his ban and subsequent fall from grace, the Smash Bros. Community celebrated Zero's demise into obscurity. Although he committed the heinous acts years ago, the community called for him to be canceled, and some even suggested that he should be imprisoned. Despite all the odds, the large segment of people still believe that he deserves a second chance, as people make mistakes. Many Twitter users came forward and offered their support while claiming that the Smash Brothers community was the most toxic one. So, my my question to you, Dan, and this is the discussion that I want to just sort of have is sort of regarding the cancel culture aspect of the internet. Because one thing I notice about cancel culture is when it comes to cancel culture, the internet doesn't really give you a path to redemption. The internet wants to see you crash and burn and go away and have your livelihood completely ruined and in shambles. And there is no penance. You know what I mean? Like it almost kind of feels like that's what the internet wants. And whenever someone's back is to the back is in a corner like that, with Zero having lost everything and his ability to provide, his career, his money, his girlfriend, and everything, it almost kind of feels like that is a logical step, which is not something that every person takes, mind you, of course, but we've seen this time and time again with like someone like Etika and stuff like that, and how toxic the internet is. So it kind of feels like my question is regarding like you know, how does how we as people, how are we just really terrible at navigating these type of things when it comes to the internet? I don't know, but let me do the thing. All right, go for it.
So to start, this is a very complicated and layered topic of conversation, and one that, although we might try, we can almost not do it justice while talking in a video game podcast, squeezed in between the new thing Microsoft is buying and the new releases of the week, right? It's difficult to address it in that kind of scenario, but I still appreciate you wanting to bring light to it and have a conversation, albeit potentially short, about it. And it's the kind of thing that I think that, shall we ever actually go through with, or a spin-off show where we just talk about whatever, it's a great topic for us to talk about for half an hour or an hour by itself. I will say that suicide, and I don't know if it's one of those things where we're not supposed to say it.
I don't believe it's. I think YouTube is very big on like censoring that. So we're on
I
YouTube.
see.
So
I see. And I understand. I really understand why people would be triggered by it, and I really apologize if it's insensitive to say it to you, if you're listening to this. But I also feel like it's still almost equally insensitive to just reword it in different ways, but still say it anyways, right? So I feel like it's just one of those things where I don't think there's a way around it. And I'll also say that this is a topic that I am especially sensitive to because of things that I experienced in my own life, with people that are close to me. And the complicated thing here is, um, this is very sad. It's always very sad. It's sad when it happens, whether it's executed to its completion, or if it's a failed attempt. It's still devastating to the people around the person who has done this. Regardless, it is obviously devastating to them, and it's obviously there's a huge amount of pain that somebody needs to be in to even get to this point. The kind of thing that I've never experienced myself, but that I try to understand as well. And all we can do as people is be aware of the people around us, that might be going through difficult stuff, that might be going through depression, be it moderate or severe, and make sure they know that we're there for them, that we can help them, that we can support them to the best of our ability. And really, that's what everybody should try to do. And in general, you should also try to be a good person and a kind person to everybody out there, not just those that are close to you. You should pay particular attention to the ones that are close to you, but to everybody. So I do not condone, obviously, going in the internet and telling people to kill themselves, or saying complete heinous mean things about people, even people that are bad. I don't even do it for them. Granted, when somebody has a certain level of being a public figure, it makes sense that they will be criticized in some way, and that they might even be made fun of occasionally, and that there's a certain level of scrutiny of being a big public person that I feel like it's inevitable to try to go around, and it just happens, right? And I feel like it's kind of the side effect of it in some ways, and it's something that you should keep in mind if you ever get to that level. But that being said, I don't claim to understand what it's like to be in that position and have, hundreds, thousands of people messaging you, saying terrible things about you everywhere. It must suck. It must suck. Um, However, and that's why this is a layered, complicated issue. It's also important to note that this guy has done things that have warranted a certain level of response too. And we also can't live in a society, as much as I want to live in a society where everybody is more kind and thus give people a chance to redemption and to atone for the errors that they've made and the mistake the bad things that they've made in one way or another. I i also think that we also can't, the alternative to that can't be a society where, well, we can't talk shit about this person who has done something bad because they might kill themselves, right? We still need to have the freedom in some level to criticize the actions of public figures, especially when they are bad. um because at the end of the day, each person is in their own position, and it's not, if I go and I write an article, if I wrote an article about a person that has, sexually harassed somebody else, and I criticize them for it, and I criticize that action. There's a lot of arguments that we can have about how that should be written and how that should be said. But ultimately, if that person ends up, doing something bad because they read that article, I don't think it's fair to say that I would be responsible for it for writing it. And this is actually something that I say as somebody that has um, gone to therapy in the past, and I'm really opening up here about things that I don't talk about with anybody, because of people that were in my life that were dealing with issues like this. And something that I was told by a therapist was, "Hey, like, you can do your best, but if anything happens to this person that you're worried about, you can't blame yourself, because it's not your fault either. You know, it's not necessarily their fault, but it's not your fault either." So I'm not trying to, once again, condone the people that are saying heinous things on the internet. They shouldn't do that. They really shouldn't. And I will fight for them to not be able to do that, if I could. But it's also, but it's not, it's not black or white. This is a very gray situation, because this person should also be criticized for things that they've done, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about Zero in his situation is that, Zero has been very public about his mental health issues. He talks openly about it on his YouTube channel, that he's been going through stuff, and, like, knowing his character in that regard, there's definitely he's definitely doesn't have like that armor, um, you
Hmm.
know, and uh, I don't know how to approach this, because there is definitely a lot of gray in this area, and is that not to mention, like, I even kind of empathize with him as well. Like, I actually had a very close friend of mine also attempt suicide, and when I went to go visit him at the hospital after he had attempted, I went to go to try to cheer him up. I went to go to try to help him, see the light, per se, as far as, tell him that life is worth living and stuff like that. What ended up happening is he told me his life story of, what happened to lead him, because this is a friend that I had fell out of touch with, by the way. So I reconnected to this. This was my first time seeing him in years. Um, and so when I was at the hospital, reconnecting with him, and he was telling me, here's what happened after we left off, after we parted ways, and, like, he just told me this very insane tragedy, um, that almost kind of sort of brought me down to his world. Like, it actually negatively affected me for like a month, where my mood was very down and very sad. My heart broke for him, kind of thing. So it's almost kind of it almost as hard as it is to say this, and I really don't like saying this, when it came to his particular situation, like I almost like I hate saying this, but I a part of me agreed with his situation, like his decision. Like I wouldn't blame him, you know. And that's a terrible thing,
Hmm.
a very terrible thing, because nobody wants to tell somebody that life isn't worth living. But yeah, that's just a very dark place, and we've never actually been this dark before. So I don't want to really too much want to go further into it, but we don't really have that bandwidth for this kind of stuff. But as far as from a games perspective, this is somebody who has a record on the was the Guinness Book of World Records for like the most number of consecutive tournament wins. He was the number one ranked player for all of Smash 4's life. And until he retired because of like the internet hate. By the way, that's part of the reason why he retired is because he kept on people hating him because he's the best in the world. You know, people don't like somebody who's the best and always winning, and then they just want to see you tear down and stuff like that. So yeah. That being said, I'm gonna just go ahead and I guess if you want to, we can end it here. I have one last closing thought for you, unless you want to say something.
I'm gonna hear your closing thought
Okay.
first,
I
and
don't
then
know. Just
determine
just
whether.
just the closing thought here was just regarding the article. It ends with the if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts or anyone that is, and you would like to talk to someone, please reach out and call the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Phone number is 800-273-8255 in the U.S. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I actually that's kind of what I wanted to end with as well. It's just like if you're listening to this and you're experiencing if this hits hard and if you're experiencing these kinds of feelings, you are not alone. There's a lot of people out there like you. There's a lot of people out there that would be willing to help if they knew. And perhaps maybe you're frustrated that they don't notice or that they haven't helped enough. And that's understandable as well, because a lot of times people are so caught up in their own lives that they either don't have time or they don't really realize the things that the people around them are going through. I've had close friends of mine go through hard shit, and I didn't even know. Like I sometimes I didn't find out until much later when they talked about it. Oh yeah, like this happened to me at that time frame, and I was like, damn, I could have helped you then, and I just didn't know. I was just so caught up in my own life, I didn't notice. I wasn't paying attention, perhaps. So, if you're listening to this and you feel that way, just know you're not alone. That there are people out there that love you, that, we love you. We appreciate you. And you can even reach out to us, if you just want somebody to chat to talk about life, talk about games. You reach out to me, you can reach out to Lewis. We plug our Twitters at the end every time. And we'll chat with you. We may not be the best resource, but if you just need somebody to talk to, we'll chat with you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to leave that out there. Yeah.
Insider baseball, I used Dan as a resource. I chatted with him like first couple of years. I was just like telling him all my shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Uh, it was kind of funny too, Lewis, with you, and lightening the mood a little bit. That's there are a few instances where I would go to Lewis before we're doing this podcast, I think, and I'll just be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And he would come back with me to me with like paragraphs and paragraphs.
I don't think you expected that.
So,
That's not usually
yeah,
when it's like,
no,
"Hi, how
no,
you're doing?" And he's, "Oh, good, all right," like that kind of thing.
yeah.
I ain't about that
I al-
life.
always caught me off guard. There was a friend that I reached out to not too long ago, and I was like, "Hey, dude, how's it going? How are you doing?" And he said, "Not well." And then he proceeded to tell me a bunch of things. But it's good. I'm glad that those things were shared with me, and that I was able to give advice or just talk about it, or just be somebody that can listen. Really, a lot of times people just need somebody to listen. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
All right. With that seriousness uh, ending there, let's go ahead and just like kind of like mosey on over to the extra news. So here we go. Number one, GameStop is issuing shares to cash in on stock surge. Number two, Atari separates gaming division and says it will create a console and PC games. Okay, a likely story. Number three, Outriders did better than Avengers on Steam. Number four, a sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. On the NES sold at auction for $660,000. Number five, Platinum Games stealth released an Apple Arcade exclusive World of Demons, that has an Okami-looking art style. Number 6, Monster Hunter Rise surpasses 5 million units sold globally. Number
Wow.
7, Nintendo Switch Update 12.0.0 came out and did nothing, apparently.
Stability fixes.
Some stability stuff. There's also been some data mines that said that like they were patching it so that the dock can get firmware updates, and they were also doing this thing where apparently Bluetooth codecs have been found in the software update, so you can might even be able to just use Bluetooth headphones like your AirPods and pair it to your Switch, so
Cool.
without using an adapter. Number 8, a canceled Castlevania game, Castlevania Resurrection, for the Dreamcast surfaces online. Number 9, a 4K port of Time Splitters 2 was hidden within Homefront The Revolution, but the unlock code is lost. Number 10, GTA 5 is announced for Game Pass on console and xCloud. And number 11, PS5 exclusive Deathloop is delayed to September 14th. Dan, I'm not going to lie, not a whole lot of headlines are catching my attention, but what you got?
Not a lot for me either. How funny would it be if Deathloop, that's the Bethesda game, which therefore will be, Bethesda belongs to Microsoft now, and that has an exclusive agreement with Sony. How funny would it be if they had an exclusive like deal thing, or it was like it's going to be exclusive until this date, and then Microsoft just made the game get delayed like over and over, so that it came out to everything. I don't think that is necessarily the case. It's just funny conspiracy theory there. But yeah, another game delay. We can expect still everything to be delayed for the most part. We saw a lot of those ever since the pandemic started. We're going to continue to see them. And that aside, Monster Hunter Rise selling 5 million units, it shows that things just sell so much on the Switch. And I feel like sometimes people don't when people think about sales numbers, sometimes they don't necessarily know what it means, right? Like what this if somebody says, oh yeah, that game sold well, but maybe they don't necessarily know what that means, like how many units is sold well. And that varies depending on the budget of the game, really. And why, is it a AAA game, is it an indie game, etc. For an indie game, selling 100,000 copies might be incredible. It most likely is incredible. It's like great sales for them. If the game was made by 10 people and sold by $20, that everybody made a lot of money. But for a AAA game, the standards are higher. But still, 5 million copies. Like most games that come out on the PS4 don't sell 5 million copies. A lot of AAA games don't sell 5 million copies. And the fact that this game just came out on the Switch and already sold to this many people is it's pretty incredible. Yeah, and that's that. Those are the main things for me.
Okay, I only got two things I wanted to talk about. The first thing was just a quick little addendum to the 4K port of Time Splitters 2 is that they basically did this thing where like it's an arcade game within the multiplayer of Homefront. And so you can actually see like the first two levels and stuff like that. And that's what they did was they ported the whole game and just partitioned it. And apparently one of the developers he tweeted about it. He had like a notepad with the unlock code and he lost the notepad. That fucking bastard. How do you? Whatever. Anyways, and the other thing was regarding the NES. First off, Super Mario Brothers is a very common ass game. Okay, like it is not a rare ass gem. It's like one of the most highest, if not, I think the number one selling NES game, if I'm not mistaken. But what happened is that there was multiple production runs. There was like I think 6 or 7 of them. And I think one of these, the one that was sold at auction, it was one of the earlier production runs, and it had like certain variants about like how the label and the trademark logo and stuff like that. So what they did was apparently they got it rated, and it was rated a 9.6, which is a very high on the scale. Like you don't, there's no such thing as a perfect 10, and that's as close as it gets. And so they had it rated, and it's an early production run, and it's like a variant. It's like a very rare variant because there was not very many of them produced. And so you got this, a low level variant or like a low numbered variant and in great condition. And someone wanted to buy it for over $500,000. Ridiculous. But, to
Yeah.
each their own.
Yeah, as I get into video game collecting, I always wonder like, okay, when am I gonna like when or my decision's gonna get to the point where I'm like buying games for way more than they're worth, and I haven't gotten there yet, but I could see it. Obviously, not ever. Even if I had millions and millions of dollars, not ever at that point. But I could see I've already had a few instances where I'm like, oh, that game is not worth $100. But man, it's gonna be like the only the franchise that I won't own, or something akin to that. So um yeah, I'm beginning to think about that with some of the Pokemon and Fire Emblem games that I was talking about earlier in the show. Like for real, it's like Radiant Dawn. Like, dude, I remember Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I remember seeing that. I was in New York and I was looking at that at the Nintendo store in New York, and they had it was like 2011, and they had like copies and copies of it just available for like 49.99 or whatever it costed at the time. And that game now is like you can't get it for under $100 used. So yeah.
Yeah, I bought it when I bought it. I got it for 80. So,
Oh wow,
uh,
wow.
yeah, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to check this out. So, I gotta say, I am very happy with myself because usually you bring the dankest of memes for check this out, and I found the dankest of memes finally. So I feel very awesome. I'm not gonna lie though, it's a bit of a cheat because everyone puts out the dankest of memes on April Fool's Day, which is where I'm getting my material from. So
Fair.
let's go. I want to bury the lead here. I want to do the hyper one second, but the first one is a an April Fool's trailer of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker 2, and it was done by Game Explain, and they did like this funny looking, janky looking CGI models and stuff like that, where you got Captain Toad is next to what was it, Bioshock Big Daddy, Big Daddy
Yeah,
from
Big Daddy.
Bioshock, and it looks kind of like the Smash. It looks like the Smash Ultimate trailer. It gave me that Simon Belmont vibes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's and he's even like getting the little needle and he's like sucking it out like a kind of like Bioshock. It's like he's like getting the star distilled into a needle.
Oh my god.
That is so Big
This is
Daddy's Adventure,
hilarious. I
Captain
love
Toad.
that. I'm I'm really happy that we actually played BioShock last year, and we have the extra context to this as well. Not like we wouldn't have enjoyed it otherwise anyway, but no, that's really good stuff. I didn't really follow a lot of April Fool stuff this year. I've had the impression that April Fools is kind of losing steam. Like I remember it was like I don't know if it's
It
like
was a
because they're
big
getting
deal, yeah,
older,
back then. Yeah.
but or it's just like maybe the new generation is not that about it, but like I feel like back in the day it's like it was a big deal and you got a lot of hype shit
The
happening.
Legend of
But
Zelda IGN trailer and everything. Yeah.
oh yeah, epic.
Yeah.
Produced by Fran Mirabella, I believe. Yeah.
The next one up is a PS1 demake of Control. So they actually put out like a little footage of it, and so I'm bringing it up here. And they basically, sort of like made it look straight up like it's got that PlayStation 1 logo and stuff like that. They basically made Remedy's logo look old, but it's got like it actually kind of looks like they could have possibly even do that. Like I almost kind of believe that they can just put on a filter like a what they did with like The Last of Us Part 2, cuz this looks kind of dope. I'm not going to lie. It looks straight up like Control but running on a PS1. And I'm pretty sure like just looking at how much is going on visually even right now, I almost kind of feel like a PS1 would explode. But
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
but
just like Shovel Knight. Like that's something that the developers of Shovel Knight said about the game is that it's like it's made to look like a Super Nintendo game or an NES game.
yeah.
I think it's made to look like an NES game, but you would never run on the NES.
Yeah. So I liked it. I was digging it. It's very cool. Very good. Very good. I applaud you guys. Or I think it might have been Remedy themselves that actually might have made it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But check it out. The links are in the show notes and in the description. I believe in the description. Yes, in the description. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I've got anything else left to say here. So Dana, you ready to take over the show?
Yeah, all right. Like I'll take us home here with the next few segments.
Okay.
What are you buying?
So we're starting with the new releases here for the week, starting April 9th when this podcast posts until April 15th. We got a few different games coming out. To start, this actually already dropped. Pac-Man 99 came out on the Switch. I don't know if Lewis wants to pull up footage of the game for the video watchers, video listeners, I almost said. This came out on the Switch on April 7th. It was kind of surprise dropped. It's an all new flavor of Pac Man. Test your chomping chops in a 99 player Pac Royale, a 99 player online Pac Man Battle Royale, 40 years after the classic Pac phenomenon rocked the gaming world. Pac Man is back in a new 99 man Battle Royale. Get back. I already said Battle Royale like 4 times. I'll just skip it if it shows up again. Get back in the maze and chase down the iconic ghost. Who will be the last Pac Man standing? Switch between 8 different strategies and sand Jammer Pac Man to get in your opponent's way. Eat a power pellet to turn the ghost blue and make him vulnerable. Eat them to send Jammer Pac Man to your opponents. The more ghosts you eat, the more jammers you send. Eat a ghost train for a huge comeback. Gain the upper hand by switching between 8 different preset strategies, speed up, send extra jammers, and more. Switching at just the right moment could give you an edge over your rivals. So I want to talk about this for a second because I actually don't know too much about this game yet. Nintendo, I believe this is free for Nintendo Switch online subscribers, and Nintendo has been doing this. They did, Tetris 99, which was a big hit, really fun to play, and then they did the Super Mario 35 thing, which is no longer available. It was just a celebratory thing for Mario's 35th anniversary, and it got out of the stores after the end of March. And now there's this Pac-Man 99 thing. I don't know if Nintendo how involved with this they are. This game is published by Bandai Namco. I don't remember who the developer is. Now, I got very confused when I saw this, Lewis, because as I brought up in the show before, and I'm probably, there's not a lot of people out there aware of this because of reasons that I'm going to get to, but the studio that I worked for before, Heavy Iron Studios in LA, California, known for like doing the original Battle for Bikini Bottom and a lot of other PS2 games, and kind of like a co-dev nowadays for a lot of their other projects. But they developed a Pac-Man Battle Royale game that released in 2020 for Google Stadia. Now, here's the thing: is that game was a Google Stadia exclusive, and because of that, with Google Stadia seemingly having no buzz whatsoever, it feels like anything that comes out exclusively on Stadia is kind of doomed to die, unfortunately, because I know the people that worked on that game. I really like some of the people that worked on that game. We were friends, we worked together, and etc. And I was really hoping that game would have had some level of splash. The game was called Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. And that I was really hoping, because the game was really fun, and I was really hoping that it was going to get some more buzz around it. But it didn't. And I think that the reason why it didn't is not so much for the game's fault or even, Heavy Iron Studios' fault. I really think it's just because of Stadia. Like, I think it's because, it came out on a dying platform that nobody really seems to care about when it comes to, this stuff, when it comes to games coverage. So it actually made me kind of sad to see the announcement of this game because nothing against this game. Like, I'm happy, that it's out. It's good. It's good that it's out there and that people can play it, and that people are going to be talking about this game because it's on the Switch, which is a vibrant, healthy platform that people love, and it's free for everybody as well. That has the online subscription. I'm sure a lot of people are going to play this at least over the next week or a few weeks and have fun with it, and good for them. But the game that Heavy Iron made, Mega Tunnel Battle, and granted, I used to work there, so you can take my opinion with a grain of salt. But as far as what I've seen, that was a better game. Like, that was a much cooler game because that was all about like going from one maze to the other. Like, everybody existed in their own maze, but all the mazes were interconnected. So my Pac-Man could like eat all the pellets in my maze and then invade your maze, Lewis, and then fight against you if I ate. I could eat you if I got the super pellet and etc. So there was like direct interaction between all the players as they moved around this big giant maze that was composed of all the smaller mazes. And then from on a timer, some of the mazes would get destroyed until you ended up with just one central maze with the final few Pac-Man left, trying to like eat each other as their, like the pellets would like respawn and stuff like that. So I just felt like that was such a cool dynamic idea of a game. And number one, I'm confused at why Bandai Namco greenlit 2 different Pac-Man Battle Royale projects at the same time, as opposed to just making that game available on other platforms. And it's so good to like be able to speak freely about this. I'm pretty sure I'm able to speak freely about this because I don't work there anymore, and I'm not going to give any insider info. I'm speaking strictly as a commentator here. But I'm really confused about the fact that Bandai Namco didn't just put that game out on more platforms, or agree to publish it on more platforms, and capped it as Stadia exclusive, just left that game to die effectively, considering the way Google Stadia is going, and then greenlit and developed this other battle royale game that's in my opinion, my biased opinion, doesn't seem as cool, to put out on the Switch instead, and have this one be the hit because it's on the Switch. I know. Yeah, so I guess I'm just kind of sour because of that experience. But yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's my take.
Tetris 99 and Super Mario Brothers 35 have done the thing where they send enemies. Like when you clear
Mhm.
rows, you send those rows to someone else, like on the map, right? Super Mario Brothers 35, when you kill a Goomba, you send that Goomba to someone else's map. So what they're doing here is when you kill a ghost, or whenever you eat a ghost with the power pellet, you send that ghost to someone else's map. And what they do is they become like little Pac-Man, they become like Ghost Pac-Man. And what they do is if Pac-Man bumps into those Ghost Pac-Man, Pac-Man's speed slows down. So he's like his
Mm.
maneuverability, loses out, and the Ghost might be able to catch up to you, or outrun you or whatever. So they basically trying to balance it and make it like it's like a battle royale where you're like doing battle against each other. Everyone's in their own map or whatever by
Mhm.
themselves, but the maps are constantly interacting with each other as far as like sending enemies to each other, or back and forth, you know like a metagame kind of thing. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not gonna say I'm hyped for it because I've not played any. I never played Tetris 99. I barely touched Mario 35. I'm gonna download it just because I'm gonna download it. But if I play it, I'll
Mhm.
probably play it for like a game or two. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Well, Pac-Man is fun. So
Yeah, Pac-Man is fun. One last thing is you can buy the game for like $30, and it gives you all the features like private matches and all the skins and stuff like that, like
mm,
unlocked. So you can get it for free, or you can pay the $30 and get all the content. So yeah.
fair enough. All right. So for our other games here, The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel 4 is coming out on Switch and PC on April 9th. Poison Control is coming out on PlayStation 4 and Switch on April 13th. Ashwalkers is coming out on PC on April 15th. And Sega Frontier Remastered is coming out on PS4, Switch, PC, iOS, and Android on April 15th.
All right. Cool.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
I should have pulled up my links earlier, but I didn't. So
That's cool.
I'm pulling them up.
I'll just vamp real quick and just say that 100% Pac-Man 99 is the pick of the week because we didn't say that last. We didn't make that explicitly clear already.
Oh yes, yes, right. That's right. All right. So to start, we got an interesting one here. Marvel's Avengers, Borderlands 3, and The Long Dark joined PlayStation out this week. I figured I'll give this a shout because we never talk about PlayStation Now. We're always talking about Game Pass. I know they're different kind of services, but I brought it up before that for as much as we celebrate Game Pass, and we criticize PlayStation for not having an equivalent service, PlayStation Now is a lot better. Seems to be, I say as somebody that's never used it or subscribed to it, seems to be a lot better than people give it credit for. We're getting some new games being added there, and Borderlands 3, which are relatively recent games. I don't know if they say in here whether they're going to be downloadable or streamable only, but my guess is that they're probably going to be downloadable.
When it comes to
Yes.
PS4 games, they are downloadable. When it comes to older generation like PS3 and PS2,
Yes.
those are streamable. So.
Yeah, there we go. So Luis has clarified that. Aside from that, we got a lot of cool Amazon deals. So I just kind of was looking around, and I found that Ring Fit Adventure is currently $10 off. It's $70 on Amazon. Luis is probably like super angry at me right now for not going in order. By the way, but
I had everything in order too, but whatever.
sometimes on my computer, when I like do the thing where I go line by line pulling up the links, it doesn't pull up the tabs on the right order for some reason. But anyway, so yeah, Ring Fit Adventure, that game at one point was being sold by scalpers for a lot of money. So right now you can get it for $10 off than the average price on Amazon pretty easily. So you might want to go check that out if you've been eyeing that game.
Also,
and then the path.
also just as a quick side note, I have actually tried and played Ring Fit Adventure, and it kicked my ass. It's a real workout.
Oh yes. Yeah, Lewis endorsed workout game right there. As you can see, Lewis has gotten in perfect shape after buying Ring Fit Adventure. Uh, so if you wanna look like Lewis in a few months after very arduous workouts daily, you can get the game for $70 right now on Amazon. The Pathless on the PS5 is currently almost half off. It typically retails for $50. It's now $30. I'm gonna go and give this game a shout, even though I have not played it. It's a PS5 exclusive. There's not a lot of those out there right now. Game that you can only play on your PS5, just like Demon Souls and that's really it. Um, and it's developed by Giant Squid Games, which are the creators of Abzu, a game that I really like. So I definitely, when I do eventually get a PS5, that is probably one of the first games that I'm picking up. So you can get that right now. Then on Best Buy, we got a few other cool, interesting physical game deals as well. Persona 5 Strikers, which came out just, I want to say, like last month, is currently $40, so $20 off from its $60 typical retail price. That is a Persona spin-off. It's a little bit more action-based. I heard really good things about it. And then Yakuza Like a Dragon on the Xbox is also $40, $20 off from 60. This game it was an Xbox timed exclusive. It's not available on other platforms as well, but I hear really good things about it as well. Kind of similar to Persona 5 Strikers, where it's a spin-off of its main series. This one is a little bit more RPG driven.
I will say that Fame endorses this title. He's put a lot of hours into it, and I don't quote me on this, but I would probably bet $1 that it's probably on Game Pass. But I don't know. I
Oh,
genuinely
I
don't
actually
know.
don't think it is. So what they did is like because Yakuza Like a Dragon is like the new one, that one actually came out for to be purchasable, but they put all the older Yakuza
Oh,
games on Game Pass. So I think, Grant, I could be wrong. So please look this up before you buy it. Don't just take my word for it. But I think that's the case. So it's like you can buy this game, and then if you like it, you can go back and play every single other one in the franchise with Xbox Game Pass. And granted, if you just wait long enough, this game will probably also go to Game Pass eventually. I would think. I would think. That's why I'm not getting it yet. Cool. So now let's also take a look at the. Let me go back at what we typically do first that I didn't do this time. We're going to take a look at the free games on the Epic Game Store. So free right now, and this is the one that we read last week, so they didn't change it. We got 3 out of 10 Season 2. Caffeinated superpowers, sentient AIs, and rival game studios all stand in the way of Shovelwork Studios as they struggle to finally make a game that scores better than 3 out of 10. Will this be the season that they finally do it? Now, here's the interesting thing. I was giving a shout out to Mythic Quest earlier in the show. This game, and I've heard about it before, is an episodic game available on the Epic Game Store. I believe it was like kind of either published by Epic or no, not published by Epic, but they received one of those Epic funds where they were funding indie games. And this is kind of like a gamified version of a show that not like the show exists separately. It's like it's a game that is built to be like a show about game developers. And I actually listened to an interview of the developer of this game not too long ago. So definitely an interesting one to check out, especially for free. So I do want to give this one a little bit more attention than we typically do these free games.
I like how you
And because
talked
it's
about. I liked how you talked about the show that you mentioned during the Apple TV. Let me see. It was it. Damn it. Okay,
Mythic
Mythic
Quest.
Quest. Yeah. I liked how you talked about like
Yeah.
Mythic Quest and stuff, and now it's like 3 out of 10 is basically Mythic Quest, but the game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got like two interesting similar recommendations for you this week, and then we seemingly there's going to be 3 free games next week. Those include the Pony of the Complete Journey, Can't Fall It's the Pillars of the Earth, and the First Tree. Some games with difficult titles. That's what they all kind of have in common there. And now, last but not least, we talked about so many different spring sales last week. They're all still available. You can find great deals on all of the digital storefronts right now. But finally, Nintendo decided to get into the bandwagon, and there's now a Nintendo spring sale. that includes a lot of Bethesda games apparently. So there's actually there's a Bethesda sale, and then there's the spring sale. They're two separate sales. But on the Bethesda side, you got Doom Eternal for $30, Wolfenstein Youngblood for 15. So if you want to play a Bethesda game, but you want to make sure to play it in under 20 FPS, that's your thing, then you can get them on the Switch.
I like how you're throwing
Otherwise, you can
shade.
get them on Game Pass on the Series X and stuff. And as far as the spring sale goes, they got that's a big one. Dragon Ball Fighters, Ready Press Play endorsed game by Lewis. $9.59. Typically retails for $60. I don't think that's kind of a lie. Like nowadays, you would typically find it for cheaper than that, but $9, that's really cheap for that game. So that's a good find right there. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. I owned that one on the PS3. Never played it, but $12.50 in there. Anything else that you want to shout out, Lewis? They'll be the more interesting ones.
I hear a lot of good things about Little Nightmares. So Little Nightmares Complete Edition, $7.50. If you're not a Game Pass member, you get it for cheap. So I believe that is on Game Pass. Yeah, I don't see.
Here's an
else that's
unusual shout here. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy, $20. This includes 3 different games. I'm guessing right now because it says trilogy, right? And those games, I actually own 2 of them on the PS3, and I played them before I had ever watched Naruto, which they're probably a lot more fun for the people that have actually watched the show. Which I watched by this point now. I've watched all of the original, and I watched some of Shippuden, and I'm actually going through it again with Leah because she had never watched it. And those games are they're fun, cool fighting games. And they're also a good way to experience the story of the show. You might even want to play the story mode as an alternative to watching the anime, because the anime hasn't aged that well. I might get some hate for that, but yeah. So that's my final shout there, Lewis.
All right, cool. All right, we had a hell of a show here, so let's take it home. It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at readyplaynetwork.com and we'll answer that question too, or else. Nothing else. Remember, you can reach the podcast at readyplaynetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88 and Dan.
At Dan Lehman.
So don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, and tell your friends about the show and all that good stuff. See you next time.
Bye-bye.